All right, gearheads, welcome to your Sunday night with Speed City. We are excited to be bringing you some off-season motorsports talk. This is John Massengale sitting in the studio in Austin with my friends Jonathan Green and Les Kaiser. How are you, gentlemen?
Okay, then.
Doing great, doing great.
Rock and roll, boys.
Little turkey hangover, but I'll get over it.
I hate this time of the year. There's nothing, it's also like, it feels like you're cleaning up after the party.
You mean after
No,
Thanksgiving?
yeah,
Yes.
Well, no. I mean, motor racing-wise, too.
Well, that's true, too.
No, but we get to, hear what's coming up for the next season already when we got guys like our guest.
Rumor have it, Nick DeFries is somewhere at the bottom of the Red Bull party still.
Yeah.
Tied up.
Well, let me run down what we got on the show. We're very excited. We have a guest joining us momentarily, Ben Keating, world champ Ben Keating. So
I want to know what he's eating.
All right. Well, we'll chat with him momentarily. We're going to talk. We got lots of F1 stories, believe it or not. We're going to talk about the huge F1 season ratings that ESPN announced this week. We're going to talk about some crypto crash stuff in relation to Formula One. We're going to talk a little. We'll talk a little CODA because there's a couple things going on out there, including some tickets that just got announced, and lots.
Taylor Swift?
No, yeah. They're easier to get than Taylor Swift. I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
We got a bunch of F1 stories, and what we want to go ahead and bring on our guests. We're very excited to have one of our favorite race drivers, fellow Texan, just down the road, Ben Keating. Hey, Ben, welcome to Speed City.
Hello, I'm excited to be here with you.
Right, buddy?
Oh, we're excited to have you, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
It was an incredible season. I don't know how I don't know how the season could have gone any better than it did. It was. This is the first time in the World Endurance Championship or at Le Mans where I have stayed with the same team and the same car for a second year in a row. And I really think that made a big difference of, really getting to know the car, knowing all the tracks that were there. But still, even with all of those little things that add up to great things, it was still a fairy tale type season for us.
Ben, my favorite thing about you is the crazy work ethic and schedule that you keep. It's really insane, and it's not bad for a 35-year-old.
Man, my Wikipedia is wrong.
Yeah. I started at 35. That's true. Very first race was at 35. But today I'm proud to say that I'm a 51-year-old world champion. The truth is I do work hard at it. It doesn't, I get the opportunity for my recreation to be racing cars, but my vocation is selling cars. And so, I end up being in competition. I just have a hunger for competition. I end up being in big competition when I'm at work between all the car dealers that want to, beat each other for an extra car, or when I'm out having fun. And it really motivates me to, to stay fit, whether that is, on the simulator or on the bicycle or whatever. And my favorite way of doing that is being on a bicycle, just because I think that's the easiest way to simulate the heart rate that you have to have for 3 hours at a time. I think that's really where the mistakes come in. When you've had a really high heart rate, and you're working out in an oven of a after you've done it for a couple hours, that's when you start to make less quality judgment calls or decisions. I think that ends up being a difference maker at the end of the day, in a season or in a 24-hour race.
Well, I want to give your career stats because it's really amazing what you've accomplished, Ben. It's so this year, the 2022 World Endurance Championship in the GTE AM series, and you did that with the TF Aston Martin team. Incredible. Last year, the 2021 24 Hours of Le Mans runner-up in GTE AM, winner of the 2022 12 Hours of Sebring and Salen's 6 Hours at the Glen, and five-time Michelin Endurance Cup champion 2017 to 19 and GT Daytona in 2021 in LMP2. And this year, joining the Corvette racing team in GTE AM. And that's going to be exciting, Ben. You got to drive it, right?
You know what? Wait. I gotta cut him off right there. He's broken the Mopar Brotherhood law. What is going on, dude?
I'll tell you what's going on. What's going on is that Chrysler's no longer building the Viper.
Yeah,
there you
yeah,
go.
that's
Okay.
the right answer.
Okay. You get the excuse.
I was able to translate racing a Viper into being the #1 volume Viper retailer in the world. And I am incredibly excited to finally be back into a brand, racing a brand that I also sell.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it, there are just lots of really special things when it comes to being with Corvette Racing. This is their 25th anniversary of Corvette Racing. This happens to be the 100th anniversary for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And so far in the Corvette Racing history, they have had all pro lineups, both in IMSA and in the World Endurance Championship. And so, I'll say I'll be the first customer. I'll be the first privateer to race with the Corvette in the GT AM category. And I'm incredibly excited about it, not only because it's a special car, it's a special year, but it's a really well-performing car, and it's a whole lot more fun to go out there and win than you just go out there and drive around in circles.
Well, and Ben, I love the fact that you are selling him, because the new Z06 is really an insane Corvette for the road, but the C8 has been running an engine that's basically based on that Z06 engine for a couple of years now. Isn't that right? Isn't that the same basic block?
Yes, that is correct. And I did get to experience it. So we've already announced that I'm going to be in the GT AM category of the World Endurance Championship. You have to have, so every driver is rated either bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, and you have to have one bronze, one silver, and you can have either a gold or a platinum. And so we've already announced I will be the bronze. Nikki Katzberg will be the platinum driver, the Corvette factory driver. And so one of the things that we did with what they call the rookie test day in Bahrain was to test silver drivers to try to figure out who we're going to have in the car there. But
who did you test?
What the heck is that?
We haven't finalized the decision yet there, but I did get the opportunity to go out and do a few laps. And so it was really nice because we had all the practice sessions in the Aston Martin, had an 8-hour race in the Aston Martin, and did well there in that car. And I think now that I've driven the C8R GTE spec race car, I've driven every single GTE spec car except the M8 BMW.
Wow.
Wow.
And I kept on trying to place the Corvette in a category with another car. I've been in the Aston Martin for the last 2 years. I was in the Porsche RSR before that. In 2019, I ran the Ford GT at Le Mans. In 2018, I ran the Ferrari at Le Mans. In 2015, I ran the Dodge Viper at Le Mans. And I kept on trying to place it into one of those other experiences. And it was a lot of fun for me. I only did about 10 laps, but I very quickly realized that the car is just different. you can't pigeonhole it into being, like a Porsche or like a Ferrari, or like a Ford GT, which, all three of those are now mid-engine type race cars. And that's kind of what I get it to be like. But it is so extremely well performing. And, I had a big smile on my face as I'm going around the track. But I left those 10 laps feeling like I've got a lot to learn, which is also really exciting for me. I love, learning how to go fast in a different car. I love a car that, where you get the speed out of it differently than you do with something else. And it just makes it more interesting. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Hey, Ben, I got to ask you about another accolade you picked up, which, kind of could have been by the wayside because you drivers always talk about lap times and championships. But I think it's pretty special when you get honored as the Gentleman of the Year for WEC. That's pretty special.
It was. It was expected. So, that's the first awards ceremony that I've actually been to, because the other years were marred by COVID.
Of course.
I didn't even know that was an award that they did. And so it was an extra special surprise that, obviously it's just a great honor. There are a lot of really great people in that paddock, and there are a lot of great gentlemen drivers, and I can think of a lot of people who could have been up on that stage with me, but it was quite an honor to be selected as the Gentleman of the Year. And like I said, I mean, it was just, whether if you ask me the most special race or the most special experience I've ever had racing a car, it would be this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans, where we won without having the fastest car. And then just to go through with the championship and the Gentleman of the Year, the whole package, the North American Endurance Championship, it was just a special year.
A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to see this kind of documentary called The Gentleman Driver.
Huh.
And I happened to be sitting next to this gentleman in the theater when we saw that.
That's not bad.
And I just pointed at it. I was like, that could be you. And so, deja vu. Here you go, buddy.
That's right. Another really fun, interesting thing is that, I was asked to be the subject of a documentary called, Another Gentleman Driver type documentary. And so we've been filming all year. And so the really fun thing about that is that all of these experiences have been cataloged, have been filmed, and I think it's going to make a really interesting story.
Oh, well, come on, let's plug it. When's it coming out, and where can we find it?
My guess is it won't be out until a year from now.
Okay.
So it's a 6-episode series. The 6th episode will be this coming 24 Hours of Daytona in January. And then they have to edit all of it. Right now they're just going around the world selling it to the different networks. I don't know where it will be shown yet in the US. That they won't sell that until the spring, but I'll let you know. It should be a good series.
All right.
And I'm guessing the 24 hours. Sorry, the 24 Hours of Daytona will be your next major race. Is that right?
That's correct.
And will you be running the Corvette there?
No, I wish. I wish, but I will be in the LMP2. We won the LMP2 championship in 21. We only ran the 4 long races last year, which compromises the Michelin North American Endurance Cup. We won that in 22 this year, and I'm going to repeat that again next year with only doing the 4 long races in the LMP2. So there's a little bit of drama that went on there. My 2 teammates I've been with for the last couple of years chose to go with one of my competitors for next season. So I have some new teammates, and I have a lot of motivation to go out there and whip up on them.
There you go.
I'd be shaking in my boots if I were them. All right, guys. Hey, we need to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have a little more with Ben Keating. You're listening to Sunday Night with Speed City. Back after this. Hey, Ben, we stay live on YouTube for our YouTube followers, so we're still live for those folks.
Awesome.
Somebody had a comment. TW said, what did he say? He said, Ben should have a Chevy logo on his shirt. So, though I'm a Ford guy, but I told him, I said, Ben's got both dealerships, probably.
Well, golly, I didn't even realize that when I had this shirt on. I have to lift up my, where you can't.
How was the test in Bahrain?
It was amazing. The car is, like I said, it's just so different. It is, with the Porsche or the Ferrari, you really have to keep the RPMs high because you get that power in the high RPM range. But with the Corvette, I assume it's just the way they have the turbos tuned, but you still have a lot of really good grunt down low. It really helps to go through the corner with a low gear and carry the speed through the corner. And it helps to bring in that torque a little bit slower to protect the rear tires a little bit more. It's got a really, really low center of gravity.
This is David Hobbs, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Just takes a little bit of getting used to.
All right, welcome back. We're chatting with Ben Keating. We were chatting during the break there, and he was telling us about the low end grunt of the Corvette. What were you going to say, Les?
And hey, folks, if you want to hear on the in between discussions on these segments, YouTube's the place to get to catch behind the scenes or in the studio. Hear what we're chatting about.
Yeah. Well, Ben, are you a Formula One fan at all?
I am.
Well, good. We have a lot of Formula One fans because we do the Formula One pre and post shows on national radio, so we get a lot of people. And TW says, do you think Binotto will keep his job at Ferrari? He's asking you. What do you think?
No, I don't.
Do you want that job?
Well, let's put it another way. Ben, like you say, you obviously you know plenty about team management in terms of your time in motorsport. What do you think? I mean, Ferrari've got a history of just cutting the head off the top man and hoping for something better. What's the answer to Ferrari's woes? Because they have got a competitive car. They showed that. They were first, second, and third in the Abu Dhabi tests the other day as well. I don't know if that means anything, but what do they need to do to get back to winning ways?
Well, I mean, Binotto, is obviously extremely Italian. He loves Ferrari. I feel like those are two things that are prerequisites for that job. But the strategy mistakes that they made this year are just unacceptable. And I was delighted to see them play some strategy games with some decoys over the radio to trick the Red Bull team on the last race. But that one little successful trick does not make a season, and they've had a disastrous season from a strategy standpoint. And at the top level of motorsport, it's just not acceptable as far as I'm concerned.
But there was obviously rumors, and they continue to go out, although we haven't had an official announcement. There's a lot of stories out this week saying that we'll know by Friday and that they've gone back to Italy and they'll be announcing it. But Vasser's name was mentioned, the head of Alfa Romeo. But who do you think would be what the Italians need?
Yeah, I don't see Vasser in that job either. I'm not. I'm not prepared to name anybody. I haven't thought about that.
But it's one of those. I mean, it's like
It's
playing. I don't know. It's like playing up front for Real Madrid. I mean, you don't want the job. You've got to be Lionel Messi to want to do that, to use a World Cup sort of analogy. But it really is the toughest job in motor racing. And I look back to the Brawn days and think, maybe because I'm an Englishman, but I just felt that they were organized and they knew what they wanted to do and they executed well. They had a brilliant driver and a driver that knew how to give the feedback he wanted. I think they've got a great driver, a brilliant driver in Leclerc, but you could see with the radio contact he was making over the year that he was just pleading with them to work better with him.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. I think Leclerc has, he is pleading with them. He is, kind of asking for something different than what they're giving. And I'm a pretty big Carlos Sainz fan. In my opinion, he hasn't been vocal enough.
Yeah.
He's tried to be too respectful, I guess I would say. I think he's just trying to be quiet and do his job and
not ruffle any feathers.
But it's not where they need to be.
Yeah, it is a tough job for anybody. And I know we've seen the door open and close for so many different people. And I don't know what the answer is.
I think the idea is Binotto Racing Keating, and we'll slip Ben in there.
All right. I like that.
You've been nominated for the job.
Nope, he's already shaking his head. Nope, I can't do it. Nope. Not trading the cowboy hat off.
Hey, Ben.
No. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I was reading, I think it was Sports Car 365, that next year may be your last in WEC. Is that true?
That's what I expect. Never say never. But, I really love the GTE spec car. So, I mean, I can ramble about this for a while, but I really love the GTE spec. I really love not having anti-lock brakes. And so I'm in the LMP2 in IMSA, and I'm in the GTE class or the GTE AM class in WEC because they both require a bronze driver and they both do not have anti-lock brakes. I feel like, the modern GT3 car, I raced it for a long time and they are incredible machines, but what I call the electronic nannies end up making everybody pretty close. And I enjoy having, not having ABS is the great separator between amateur drivers. It's what makes the difference between a fast lap and not having a fast lap. And so this next year, 2023, is the last year for GTE, which is to say it's the last year for the C8R GTE car, Corvette, which I'm incredibly excited about, running that car in its last year of having a place to race. But I also know that, it is so hard for any series to get the balance of performance right between cars. And I love the World Endurance Championship, their formula of, they use the pro class from the previous year where they have a full year's worth of data from pros driving to create the balance of performance for the GT AM class. And I really, really like that because I know what I'm dealing with when I start the year. I know, what I have to work with. My concern is that as hard as that is to get right with only, 3 or 4 different manufacturers, when they have GT3 classes out there, you're going to have 10 to 12 different manufacturers. And it's going to be really hard to get that right. And I just have something in my brain. I don't have to win every race for sure, but I don't want to be cheated out of a race. I want to know that I have a fair shot. And I don't think it is, realistic to try to control, whatever 20 different customer racing programs who are running GT3 cars. So, I think it's a pretty good time for me to stop traveling so much, enjoy the last year of the GTE class, and then come back and start racing again more in the US.
Hey, listen, Ben, this is a bit left field, but I think I'd like to get your insight on this. One of the stories that I was going to discuss tonight, and I hadn't thought of asking you this, but I'm going to, was everybody's looking towards the 26 rules. And as you know, Porsche's name was mooted as a potential entry. Audi has already
Formula One.
Yeah, Formula One now. But given that you are in the deep middle in WEC of what those manufacturers decide to do, the three names that have been mentioned in this article are Ford, Porsche, and Volkswagen.
Ford.
Wow. Yeah. So as a potential entry for 26. Now Red Bull have said new. They have signed up for 26, but they've said new engine supplier. Now that could be read in a lot of ways, and it could mean that they want to stay in house with their own powertrain. And the rumor is it could be a tie up with a Porsche or potentially with Ford. Is there any, sort of mutterings going on within WEC, certainly from a Porsche point of view, on what they or Ford might want to do with Formula One at all?
So I'll say no.
Okay.
There's so much going on right now with the introduction of the hypercar and the LMDH class. There's so many different manufacturers coming into the top class of World Endurance Championship. There's been so much testing. This is the very first year for the LMDH cars to come in. That's what all the talk is about. We won't have the Porsche teams ready for the 24 Hours of Daytona, as an example, in the new Porsche 963 LMDH car. Because they don't feel like they're ready. They're still having issues with some of the electrical motors and things like that. And so that's what all the buzz is about in our series. Because I am, I'm a Volkswagen dealer, I'm a Ford dealer, I'll go ahead and say I'll be shocked if Ford comes to Formula One. I don't see that happening.
That was my gut. I was like, wow, that was completely out of left field for me.
It would be a really, really big change and a commitment. I mean, it's funny, you only need to watch the last decade of Honda's performance of 5 years of hell and now what could be 5 years of glory. And now they've only got a tiny sticker saying HRC on the side of it. They're not getting any of the credit, really.
Yeah.
Well, also this week was the rumor that Honda would invest deeper.
Okay. Go ahead, Ben.
What I think is that, in order to be successful in Formula One, you have to hate money.
And know how to burn it.
Jim Farley and Bill Ford definitely do not hate money.
Nope.
Hey, Ben, somebody on YouTube agrees with you. And I was thinking when you said it, they said, ABS has become stupid good. He talks about how amazing it is on his first car and all that. But that did strike me when you said that because, we see that it's not in Formula One. It's one of the things we see all the time. There's a lockup. And I hadn't really thought about it, but that really is a really great delineator between drivers because not everybody can do that and do everything else you have to do. And you just have to be fully committed to your craft, don't you?
Yes. I mean, it's a big separator. When you have ABS in the modern GT3 cars, not only does it makes everybody a hero going into the brake zone. So
yeah,
you push on the pedal like an 800-pound gorilla and let the computer do all the work. And it makes you look really good. But it takes all the bronze drivers and it narrows the field to where everybody's within a second, say, in terms of their braking performance. Everybody can hit the throttle pedal hard in the same way, but the braking is the big separator. And it also takes all the bronze drivers or the AM drivers and makes them much closer to the pros. And for my time behind the wheel of the LMP2 or the GTE car, I really feel like I have become a much better driver. Still learning my craft a little bit better by not having the electric nannies.
Electric nannies, I like it.
I told Ryan we wouldn't keep you too long. Have you got time for another segment with us?
You bet.
All right.
All right.
Well, let's. We got some more questions from YouTube. We got lots more. We got some more Formula One stories we want to talk about. Back after these messages.
Ask him what he wants to talk about.
Yeah, Ben, what do you want to talk about? We're still live on YouTube, but what do you want to talk about?
So, I think, I would like to just continue to talk about the Corvette. In that future, I am, I think about, I've in the last 5 years at Le Mans, I've been on the podium in 4 of the last 5 years.
Wow.
And the new C8R has performed well at Le Mans, but they have had disastrous luck in the new car. And so, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, but I'm incredibly excited about the idea that, if we could do well in the 100th anniversary of the 24 Hours of Le Mans
audio from the speakers,
we have Corvette racing.
Well, we definitely. Okay, hold on one sec. Casey, it's not what we're. It's a commercial. Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry. Duh.
All righty, Ben.
Well,
I can tell you're really excited about the Corvettes. I know those old crusty Vipers got me in the way. I'm going to come get it out of your way. Don't worry. You can depend on me.
My son works with a guy. I say works with. He hangs out at the shop and he drives a Viper ACR pretty much as his daily.
Ooh.
And I'm like, you are a glutton for fun or punishment. I can't decide which.
Oh, it's absolutely both.
I tell you what, one thing, Ben, that I talk about the Corvette, but also I'd be interested to know, ever since the guy opposite me is a Corvette nut. And he was the one he was the one that told me just what it's worth for what you bang for your buck in a supercar. So tell us, as a dealer, just what kind of reaction you get to a $66,000 Corvette.
Yeah, Corvette. Hold on, Ben. We're going to come back from the break. Hold on to answer that.
Hello to everyone. This is Gunther Steiner. This is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, during the break, Jonathan was asking Ben what was the reaction when the Corvette, the C8, was released. And I think, Jonathan, you said $66,000.
Something like that.
But I think you could buy one that started with a 5 if you sticker, right? Ben, wasn't the base price like $59,900, something like that?
It was incredibly, I hate to call it cheap, but for what you're getting, it was cheap.
Stunning. Yeah.
Stunning.
Bang for the buck, for sure.
It's so much car for the money. I don't know that you can find, in the sports car world, I don't know that you can find more car for your money. Of course, as I'm making all these decisions to race with Corvette Racing in 2023, of course, I asked them if I could have a spot in their car at Daytona, and that didn't work out. But my next question is, hey, if I agree to race with Corvette Racing in 2023 in the World Endurance Championship, do you think I could get more allocation of cars to help pay for this stuff? Of course, the answer is that the racing program and the production side of General Motors are completely separate. But I still, right now we have 2 Chevy stores. We both sell Corvette. Both of them are Corvette dealers. And we have over a 3-year waiting list on orders. And I know that as I travel around the world racing a Corvette and talking to these, fanatical people at the racetracks that are huge Corvette fans, I'm going to be selling more of them. And so it is, it's an incredible value. I have not been willing to put one in my garage yet because it doesn't feel right to put one in my garage when we've got a 3-year waiting list for customers that want to buy them. But it is, it's got such a huge following. But the way they came out with the whole, mid-engine design, a completely different, totally new design of a car. To come out at 50 or 60 or even $70,000. I mean, it's competing with cars that are $250,000. And it lines up extremely well in all the performance categories. And I don't, it's hard to say that. That's a lot of bang for your buck when you're spending that much money, but it's the truth. I think it's the best value out there.
Top track speed 194, 2.9 0 to 60, and 64.5 is what they have it down on the official page.
Yeah, I mean that 2.9, that's with only 495 horsepower.
That's right.
Naturally aspirated. This is the base Corvette at 2.9. Because of the mid-engine, basically all the weight right over the back tires or all the traction, just crazy.
Can Ben guess at what the race car will give him?
I don't know. I got to, I only got 10 laps in the car in Bahrain, but this year earlier this year in January at the 24 Hours of Daytona, I got the opportunity to be on the JDC Miller team racing the Cadillac DPI cars.
Wow.
Years at Daytona, I've been in 2 different cars for that particular race. And so I got to do it in the LMP2, but also in the Cadillac DPI. And, I was so amazed by the Cadillac DPI traction control specifically. In the LMP2 car, when you're driving around Daytona, you go around the International Horseshoe, and I think I'm going through there as fast as you can go through there. And it's hard for me. It was always hard for me to understand how those Cadillac DPI cars could just rocket around the outside faster than I could. And then I got in the car to go out, and they said, we're going to give you 30 minutes to do a long run to get to know the car. And after I did 3 laps, they called me in. They said, Ben, are you modulating the throttle as you go around turn 3? And I said, yes. And they said, no, that's not how you drive this car. As soon as you know that you can get the front end of the apex, you go full throttle and let the traction control do everything else.
Wow.
And it was so amazing because in most cars, when you feel the traction, when the traction control comes in, you really feel it. It slows you down, and you can feel it pulling the torque out of the engine. You can't feel it in that car. You feel like it's shooting you out of a rocket. And I'm hopeful that the Corvette is the same way. At least that's what I'm expecting. I'm hoping that technology transfers over into the GT car. Like I said earlier, I only got 10 laps. I still feel like I have a lot to learn. I was too low of a gear in almost every corner. I needed to be up a gear to be able to carry the minimum speed through the corner better. It's got such a low center of gravity. The minimum speed you're able to carry around a corner in the Corvette C8R is just bonkers. Really nice.
We've seen all these different cars. We've seen, comes to mind, Godzilla, the Nissan GTR, where they went all-wheel drive. Can you imagine what this Corvette would do if they went all-wheel drive through some
You may have your
hybrid
wish
in it?
granted, sir. The rumor, of course, since the C8 was released, the rumor was that there was going to be the Z06 is out now, but that there would be I don't know if it's going to be a ZR1 or whatever it is, that there'll be 1,000 horsepower all-wheel drive because they're going to do what they've been doing in the back of the car and then add electric motors to the front of the car. Is that the rumor, Ben, that you've heard too?
I haven't heard it, but I'll be in line to buy
it. Hey, Ben, I've got a story here that we promised we would talk about tonight. And because you're an amazing businessman as well as an amazing race car driver, I wanted to ask you about this. Early in the year, Jonathan and I picked up on this, maybe even at the end of last year, about all the crypto companies diving into Formula One and sponsoring Formula One. And like what you said about money earlier, Formula One, but 8 of the Formula One teams have deals with crypto companies. Formula One itself has a big deal with Crypto.com.
For Miami and
yeah, and then of course Miami is sponsored. They're their title sponsor for the whole Grand Prix. And so now that we've got this massive crash going on, Zach Brown was actually quoted as saying the situation with the FTX situation certainly seems to be a complete mess. What do you think about how this could affect not just Formula One, but racing? I know they're sponsoring other motorsports as well.
Yes. I mean, I went to the Super Bowl this year at the Crypto.com stadium, in LA, I think it was. That's a pretty good example of people that hate money. But what I'll say is that I'm trying to think back to previous situations that have happened like this, but it seems to happen in motorsports about, I don't know, once every 10 or 15 years, that I think makes me think of, what was it, Rich Media?
Rich Energy.
Rich Energy, yep.
Rich Energy, that's right. I don't know. I understand the whole crypto deal. I don't own any of it because I'm not comfortable with it. But you can look at all the sponsorships of the Super Bowl or the television commercials or Formula One or whatever, and you have to ask yourself. I mean, that stuff costs so much money, and you got to ask yourself where that money is coming from. It is. I don't exactly understand how those cryptocurrency exchanges are making money. And
maybe they're not.
It could be.
Yeah. All I can see is that they're spending it hand over fist.
How many Corvettes have they bought with it from you?
Yeah. Hey, Ben, here's a good response from Zach Brown of McLaren. He said, I kind of liken it to the internet when it got started. You had a lot of internet companies, lots didn't make it. Then companies like Amazon came out pretty good. And I lived through that. I was in technology when that happened. And I think that's a pretty darn good analogy, because there was this rush. People were paying $1 million for a domain name. I mean, there was, and we were right here in the thick of it here in Austin. I mean, right. I had companies like Garden.com was buying just hundreds of thousands of dollars of gear from my company at the time, and they went nowhere. In fact, they took VC money and it all evaporated. And I think that we could easily see either a consolidation or just and this is so different because it is not tangible. So I don't know, Ben. I'm with you. I have not even dabbled in crypto yet. I've looked into it. I do understand it. I understand blockchain, but I've not dived in. Well, guys, we need to take our last break. Let's sneak that in. When we come back, we'll have more with Ben Keating. Back after these messages. All right, we're still live on YouTube and Facebook for the map. Hey, Les, speaking of Facebook, Paul Bryan's on there, and he said that he's one of the 5 people that's driven.
Ben and Paul Bryan
has driven what, one of the Z06s, the new Z06.
Yep.
Well, you better ask Ben if he's still going to do the whole show with us now.
Well, I figured he's come this far. We've only got about 10 minutes left. You okay, Ben?
I'm good.
He's 11 hours.
It's fascinating talking to you, man. It really is. Because it's an interesting angle. You come from a very interesting point of view, given your time in the sport.
Well, the thing I like is, without a doubt, you have the motorsports, savviness, but you've also got the industrial portion from the showroom side.
Mm.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
what are your 30, around 30 dealerships?
28. Yeah.
28, closing in on it. There's still
That's
time.
right.
There's 4 weeks left for the year.
Hey, we had a couple more questions on YouTube. RP Marriott at Mantle Dynamics says, hydrogen. How much we got, Casey? He said hydrogen's on the way. Any rumors? I think we're a little far out with hydrogen. I don't know. Burning it is not nearly as efficient as using fuel cells. So we'll see what about that.
All righty.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hydrogen car.
Hi, this is Jay Leno from JayLenosGarage.com, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, and welcome back, everybody. Hey, Ben, sorry to interrupt you. Just bringing us back on the radio. You were talking about possibly hydrogen in WEC. I know WEC has been fantastic about all different kinds of technology, right?
They have been, but they did an exhibition lap last year around the track in a hydrogen-powered prototype car. But whether it is electric vehicles or hydrogen, we're a long way from doing a 24-hour race with something like that will be competitive on what I'll just call a short pit stop.
Yeah,
I think we're away from it.
Yeah, I do too. I think that hydrogen is not. I mean, there's so many challenges with putting it in automobiles. From the tank to the range to there's lots and lots. I've looked into it. Hey guys, there's one story that I definitely want to. I promised everybody we would talk about, and that is the incredible ESPN television ratings that came out this past week, because they are stunning. And I'm going to read some of the highlights here, and I want to get your take, Ben, because there's new records all across the board. 2022 averaged 1.2 million viewers this year across all the ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC, and making it a 28% increase over last year. 28%. And I mean, that's the level of growth. But listen to these. Female viewership is up 34% over last year, and women now make up 28% of
That is the line I picked up on, is that 30% of our Formula One audience, let's basically give or take, are females.
I know how this happened, because
It's simple.
It's what, Ben?
It's super simple. It's all due to the Netflix series.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All of it. You're right.
And those good-looking gentleman drivers of the year.
That's what I was going to say. My daughter and my wife. My daughter was walking through the room, and we had the Netflix series on, and she kind of glanced, and then she sat on the sofa, and they showed all these young drivers, and I said, you know what? Yeah.
My 22-year-old daughter, who lives in Austin, was like, "Dad, will you take me to the Formula One race?"
Yeah.
That's hot.
And I know I live in Victoria, and I know ladies here, normal stay-at-home mom, ladies that are now rabid Formula One fans.
Yeah.
Because of the show, I think it's awesome. I think that I don't know if Liberty Media exactly what all they had to do with that, or if they saw it coming. But to purchase the series and then to pull off a Netflix series that increases viewership that much was, pulling a rabbit out of a hat for sure.
Well, let's see what happens after they figure out Daniel Ricciardo isn't racing next year.
Yeah. Well, hey, here's some more stats too. 29% increase in viewers between the ages of 18 and 49. That is such a coveted audience, no matter what you're selling. And I want to ask Ben about Corvettes, but get this, age 12 to 17 increased 50%, the largest across all the key demographics. 18 to 34 up 43%. It just across the board, and all those coveted those segments of that, just incredible. And qualifying, get this, up 17% year on year. So, hey, Ben, what about I think of Corvette being an older, mainly because of the price of the car. But, I know that I was young and stupid and spent way too much money on cars, including a Corvette when I was in my 20s. Are you seeing Are you seeing any increase in the young demographic in Corvette market?
Yeah, I'll say a little bit. It's still a pretty older market, mostly, because they can afford it, but then also a lot of them are nostalgic about, the good old days, if you will, of wanting one for time. And, at least from the people that I know that are in that, high school and college age bracket, those guys that are really interested in Formula One, to me, that's mostly coming out of gaming. That's coming out, sim racing, esports. They're all, gamers that are used to, racing on Forza or Assetto Corsa or iRacing or whatever. And, the people that I see in that demographic are really getting into the racing, the esports side of things, and that's drawing them into Formula One.
Yeah, I see that. Hey, here's a question. Actually, just a comment from Brian on YouTube. He says, compare that to Indy's 3% ratings growth. I mean, 3%, that's just
noise.
I mean, that's really not even keeping up. But I don't know I don't know what IndyCar is going to do. I mean, every series, Ben, talks about having their own version of the Netflix. MotoGP tried it, and it was a complete disaster. Well,
I mean, talking about the youth, you laughed at the one story I had. There's the
about
youth
clothing.
retailer PacSun, is clothing for youth. That's why I don't know who they are. But anyway, they've joined forces in a multi-year. Yeah, thanks. They've joined forces in a multi-year partnership to debut their merchandise collection at the big festival in California, tying to Formula One.
And that's what we're going to have to get used to, guys. We're all, including Ben, we're all a similar age here, and we're going to have to get used to some advertising that we don't know what the heck they're talking about because they're aiming for that younger demographic.
But just a footnote on some of those stats that you gave out with the younger profile especially. I mean, you've got to remember the Formula One has only embraced social media for the last 4 or 5 years, no more.
Since it was out.
And I agree with Ben. I mean, I think that culture has now clashed, which is the gaming culture, the E series, the racing sim people of that demographic, the vogue that the women so love, which is it's now it's the hip thing, Formula One. So I better learn about it, and it's got all the sexiness, glamour, jewelry, money, all the things that attract me. It may as well be, the cover of Vogue because it's getting that way. We see Jack Crawford in Austin Monthly, in Texas Monthly this week, this month in November.
That's right.
Suddenly we're starting to see more and more. I don't know if Ben would agree in his world that suddenly it's cool again to be in racing.
Yeah, and something interesting that I also think is really interesting is that these people are not just saying I'm a Formula One fan, but they're saying, I'm a Carlos Sainz fan, or I'm a Charles Leclerc fan, or, I love Max Verstappen, or, they are choosing individuals out of the Drive to Survive series that they are connecting with. And, they, at least from my perspective, I see them being drawn to individuals more than just the racing, which I think is interesting. They're tuning into the racing not because they want to, watch a fun race, but they want to see what happens to their guy.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's what Netflix has done. I mean, look at NASCAR. All the major sports. The personalities are a part of it, and Netflix has brought that out in spades.
Well, and all of that, to me, has grown. It's spread. It's not just mainstream. It's, I'll say the mainstream is a lot wider now for it. When I was traveling here in the fall, I was in a small place and wound up hearing a Formula One conversation at the next table. Ben, I bet you've been to Ramsey's there in Victoria. You think they talk there about it?
I'm sure it's happened before. There's not much talked about at Ramsey's, but my guess is
I don't know Ramsey's, but that's interesting.
I guess you can always tell your daughter, you know,
diner.
you beat Mr. McDreamy on his day at Le Mans.
Well, hey, looks like Ben is about out of time. I know we've got just less than a minute left in the show. Ben, is there anything you want to get out there? You can throw out a car website, whatever you want to do to we really appreciate you coming on.
No, I love being on. I love talking about this stuff, whether it is from the manufacturer side or the racing side. I enjoy getting to spend an hour of my Sunday night with you guys talking about it.
There you go. Love it. Well, congratulations again.
Yeah, amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
What a year.
Ben.
And good luck at Daytona. We'll be watching.
Thank you.
January 29th, I'm guessing.
January, that sounds about right.
Heck, there's not much else going on at that point. We'll find you.
All right, Ben, thanks a lot, my friend. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything. We appreciate you coming on. You have a good rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will talk to you next Sunday night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Talk to you then.
Happy trails.
All righty.